Welcome back. We got some fun on the bench today. Check it out. I realize it's a far away view. We'll move it a little closer. We have a Nexus 5X that, let's see, it does have a problem. It will start up and then it starts boot looping. Continue. Wow, I didn't know it would start up. Let's just hit next. Skip. We'll see if we can get this to start booting. This thing did the where it gets into the OS and then not now. Skip anyway. Or do we have to do a Google account? Or can we skip that? Got it. Alright, well, if this doesn't okay, so it's completely froze. We got to the OS. It probably will restart at some point. Let's give it a hard restart. We're going to see if we can fix this, because it was boot looping and randomly it would start. Yeah, okay. Let's see what happens. See if it's going to start back up. If I happen to actually stick at a certain spot when booting. That's the problem with it. We're going to go ahead and rip it apart and attempt to fix this. See if we can get into an OS where it doesn't freeze, where it doesn't stick on the Google screen. There, so it's starting over again. We just happened to get lucky and catch it when it was at a working, here, let's turn that off for a moment. Catch it when it was at a working home screen. Like, did I call it a desktop? That's all wrong. It's just wrong. We can't call it that. So that's, yeah, that's what it's going to do basically. Let's go ahead and get the camera on and go to work on this thing. And get the camera on, the light on. I meant turn the light on and go to work. What is that out there? I had one of these, a black one, and I gave it away to somebody that needed a phone. So, possibly we'll do the same thing with this phone. Find somebody that needs a phone, if we fix it, and give it away. There's an old phone. It'd make a decent backup phone. I don't know what carrier it is. There is a sticker there, but can't really read that, so. And I think we'll go this way. What a shame. Little broken phone. Can we fix you? Can we make you great again? Where you got a reliable fingerprint sensor and you don't freeze when you make it to a home screen. I was going to say, I thought it was going to make a liar out of me. And what is still stuck? It's like it's not going to... There it is. Okay. As you can see, that's not a good sign already. I've never actually been into this phone. I think the furthest I made is where I was before, but I didn't really pay attention. I just swapped in a black fingerprint sensor. But I've never been active. So we have our, what is this, our 00. We're going to try a double, and if that don't work, yes, that is our 00. If that don't work, we will go, you know what, let's get the trusty black mat. It's filthy. Are you the one? You're the one. All right. We will put you there. So I'm guessing this thing, yeah, it's just going to continue on. We need to get under this plate here. So let's work on that while it keeps doing its little boot looping. I've heard some people say before to use a 000 screwdriver. I always prefer a double. It seems to fit better for me, at least in the way I tear things apart. So that's what I tend to go with. We need to pull our SIM tray as well. So let's go ahead and do that while we're thinking about it. We'll pop the SIM tray out, throw it there, and just confirm what this is doing again. It's not due to a low battery. It's been plugged in for a while. When I first plugged it in, you got the typical Nexus. You plug it in and it's dead, and it gives you a red light somewhere, either on screen or in a speaker grill. Yeah, so there you have it. Let's go ahead and work our way around the edge of this. We need to pop it loose. Now my black one of these that I had, I tore it apart quite a few times. I was looking for a way to mod a wireless, there we go, broken, mod a wireless charging coil into it. Because as nice as the phone was when it came out and the technology in it, it was just dreadful that it didn't have wireless charging. Not that that's a highly used feature, but it would have been cool, I thought, to have it. So yeah, this thing took a definite hit with some water. I'm not sure if we have to unplug that there. We might. Let's go ahead and look. I'm going to use a little pry tool to get under the tape. Does that connect up here or below? Looks like it's below. Ah, dummy me, I left the screw in. No wonder it won't pop out and we just ripped the corner off. Alright. And this was, ahead of time, this was garbage, so no harm done, no harm, no foul. It is complete garbage. When you get to prying into a phone like this, go ahead and use a, you can use metal tools, but really don't. You don't want to damage anything or short anything out if it happens to be this particular problem where it's turning on and off. Which one of those will come off first? Well, the broken part. Okay. Alright, right here is our battery. Let's go ahead and disconnect that. Phone's off. It should be attempting no boot and definitely no loops any longer. Alright, we have a few things to disconnect. I'm going to grab a seat for this actually. Never sit down for these, but I think a few of the phone ones I have, but we're gonna hop on a chair today. Alright, do we have any screws in the actual motherboard now? I think it's fairly free. We do have a few connectors to remove around the device before we can attempt to lift this board out. I don't know, is that it? I think the speaker stays behind, the cameras, yes, okay. So let's look at the way we pulled this out. The way that we pulled this out, what we need to do is we need to pop off this back EMI shield, not the front. And when I say front, it's actually the front of the motherboard, the side that would face your display. So if it sits in there like that, it's going to be the side that faces the display, but the way when you pull it out, we'll call it the back, just to make it even more confusing. We don't want this side, we want the reverse. I'm going to see how tough this is going to be to pop that shield off. There should be a lid on it. There's little tabs around it. Not too difficult so far. Let's get any flat pry tool, flat piece of plastic, something that has a fairly thin edge, and you should be able to get under a few of the corners and start working your way around the device. Alright. Let me take a look here. Tell me that's not flux that's there already that somebody didn't clean off. It appears as though it might be. Or it could be what caused the damage in the first place. If it isn't flux and it's, do you see that? Let's see if we can get a view of that. Off, and actually we'll let the camera readjust. What can we do about this? Alright. If you look around the edges of the chip, it's dark, and it's not because it's a shadow. It's dark because there is something that was either applied and not cleaned off, or it's part of whatever this phone got dunked in still there and was never just cleaned. Liquid damage isn't, it's a corrosive process, yes, but it's an ongoing destructive process, meaning don't throw it in a bag of rice. Don't attempt to keep charging it. Get it to somebody that can tear it apart and clean it off and hopefully fix your liquid damage so your phone or device isn't destroyed. We gotta move our trusty black mat. We're gonna burn the counter. I need to take a look at the motherboard. I do believe we're after this chip, the one that has the black stuff around it, not this one. This is the one we're gonna go after. But just to avoid making a mistake, I need to look up what these chips are. We want the chip that is the actual hard drive, the eMMC chip. So let's go and take a look, see if we can get Nexus 5X teardown. We'll pull it up. Here's where we're at on the display. We'll go here. Usually they do label the chips in their teardown. So let's run down through it and see what they tell us. Alright, so Samsung 2 gig. They're beneath to show. I may have been wrong. Flash memory. So we need the other chip above it. We need this one, not the Samsung chip. That would be the CPU and the RAM chip there. We don't need that. We need the Toshiba 16 gig eMMC drive, which is, so I pointed, we need this one, not this one, if I'm not mistaken. Let's do this and...
Hello and welcome, and today we're going to be working...
Are you really gonna... I don't want to add? You out of your mind? It may be the RAM that's doing it. It may indeed be the RAM. No guarantees. One or the other. Actually, it looks like I said, like this reminds me of a refurbished phone. Or there just happens to be leftover residue around that chip. But it seems like somebody already did the reflow on it. So this may not fix. Let me turn this light back on. This may not fix our device. I was hoping it would, but it appears as though I'm not the first person in here mucking about. Like I said, it looks like leftover dried up burnt flux or possibly soda. Let's throw some alcohol in here to see. Throw some alcohol in there to see if it'll clean off. We're going to see if we can find a brush. Is this one jammed up with flux? It is, but it should get soft enough. Alright, so we're going to throw alcohol right around our chip. And see if what is left there will brush off, or are we stuck with it? If it is flux, it could be hard, and we would have to get it with a heat gun. When brushing on this, you don't want something that has real stiff bristles. You want a soft bristled brush like an old lens cleaning camera thing, something like this, or like a baby or a child's toothbrush, a real soft, something that's a real soft bristles, super soft. You don't want big chunks of rubber sticking out that may jam up and knock some of your chips off. Okay, so going over it like that, it doesn't appear that any of that, oh, maybe. I'm not very hopeful. I'm going to test over here. I'm going to test over here on this chip here. No, that should darken up a little. I'm going to test. There is some residue around this chip, so let's give a brush there real quick just to see. Does that black come off, or is it super dried flux? Alcohol would start dissolving. Yep. You know what? It might just be old flux, meaning somebody's already been in here and reflowed this. This, likely, I'm guessing it's a refurbished phone from Verizon, AT&T, any carriers that offered this phone. No, it's actually not coming off. It's still very much there. Let's take a look at this side again. Just rebrush it while we have alcohol. Alright. Does anybody know the conversion formula for Celsius to Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit to Celsius? I know we can look this up. We need to go up to about 380 degrees Celsius. That's going to be what, 193, 195 Fahrenheit? Let's take a look. Let's go back to our monitor. Back at our monitor, and we want to, it would be F2C. Let's check it out. F to C. Okay, Fahrenheit. What did I say? 380 Fahrenheit. 193.333. Okay, so 195 was close, right? 195 was close enough. We're going to get our heat gun started up, hot air. And our hot air gun works in Celsius, not Fahrenheit. So do make sure you check your gun. I want to keep it on the lowest airflow. I don't want to be blowing chips all over the place. Like, you don't want to send these little chips flying. Some of them are so small, you literally, you can see them, but you're not going to do any extensive work to them unless you have a microscope. But since we're not working on a microscopic chip, we're just working on our little friend there. I'm going to drop this ISO some more. Look at that horrible wood grain, but we can actually see the phone. Alright, so this is the chip we're going to try and reflow. There is, it's RAM and the CPU under it, and then you have your actual hard drive. If this don't work, we're going to try this one. Our hot air. Waiting, there it goes. Get hot and cool it down. Alright. We're up at 194. Alright. our actual temp is ticking down 194 and it jumped up to 230. So we're going to fine tune this thing to take it down at the lowest airflow. And we're at 194. So 380 Fahrenheit is 193.3333 Celsius. So 194 Celsius. Okay, so we need some flux. And then we're going to get our hot air in there on that. We're going to warm the board up. I'm just giving it another moment or so for the alcohol to evaporate that we were brushing around on there. Hopefully it's fixed after this. If not, like I said, there is almost direct evidence that somebody did do this before. Alright, we got gun up to temp. We're going to go ahead and work on preheating our board. And keep the gun far away. We're just going to work on getting it warm from a distance. What's that term that I've heard people say? Thermal expansion. You don't want... Oh, what is it? You don't want thermal expansion taking place and busting anything, warping anything on the board. We're going to start getting it warmed up, and then we're going to go in on this thing and attempt to flow that chip back down. Get off the edge of the chip. Alright, let's get our stopwatch out. We're going to run this for, once we do actually start, we're going to run it for about 30 to 40 seconds. Alright, so we're going to keep the phone away a little bit. We'll back this up so we can have a reference there. Let's put some heat back on it. And then we're going to mainly focus on, why is that drying off right there? What a nuisance you are. We're going to have all this flux to clean off later too, so that's going to be fun. Alright, get some heat back in it from a distance, and then we're going to focus on right on the chip, the whole chip, for 30 to 40 seconds up close. Alright, we're going to let that cool without touching it. Clean it up, reassemble, and see what the status is. Did we reflow it under there or not? Hopefully we did. Hopefully it boots into an OS and doesn't freeze. Alright, while we do that, turn our gun down, fan up to cool off the element. We'll let that sit and start cleaning up a few of these other things. Ow. I wonder if my mic reached all the way out to the automobile. Let's take a temp check on this and see where it's at. We're still up at 105. And cooling. So right around 100 degrees. Some of it's still up there. We're going to blow the high speed of our hot air rework station. It's 100 degrees right now, so we get some moving air on it and move away from the board and let it continue cooling down. Another thing you can do when these get down, you can throw some alcohol on them to start cleaning them off. You don't want that flux drying completely. It does get harder to clean off the more it dries. And with any luck, this actually worked, and with no luck, it yeah, we'll be stuck doing it again. So let's start rinsing this off. I'm gonna grab a few paper towels. And start brushing. Normally the brush bristles will help pick up some of the flux with the alcohol. And you can come in and clean it off yourself. Q-tips work wonders too. I'm actually going to grab a few of those. I did finally get more. Just thought of it. So we're getting back into the, what is this, the modern age? We're in the 21st century. Is that right? It used to say, what, 20th Century Fox on the movies and TV show thing, so it's like 21st century now? I don't know how that worked. I could never keep track of it. Around these smaller chips here, we are just going to roll. Roll a Q-tip around to attempt to clean that flux off. And give a good brush along each edge. Alright, it looks like we have most of the flux off. I'm not saying there's 100% gone. It's most definitely not, but there should be enough to let this finish drying for a few moments, and then we can reassemble it and see. Do we do it justice? Justice? No justice. Let's find out. Another way to tell if there's anything left or anything caught under the other EMI shield or around the chips is you can tilt it, and if you see any alcohol mixed with flux residue running, you can go ahead and clean that up. Tilt it, just tap it a little, lightly, see if you get anything running. Indeed we do not. I don't think that did it, honestly. I think I think it's done for, honestly, if I'm going to be 100% honest. It appears as though somebody has already done this at one point or another, so. I could be 100% wrong, and hopefully we have a functioning for the immediate future phone. Before I forget, let's throw our EMI shield back on. These are fun getting lined back up. Not always easy. You do have little clips to go in between. Once you get some lined up, the rest should follow along. If you can get two that are on opposite, like an L shape on opposite sides, get it to start resting in two of those sets of clips. It should fall into rest fairly easy. There is not a lot of room for flex on these. The shields, they will flex a little, but not to a great extent where they're going to be in and out on all your little clips that hold them on. There's that. We have that together. We're going to reconnect everything. Put that one in. We need to move that. We also need the camera and the other camera. So there's one camera, and then we should have one more camera up top here. Our, what is that, the front-facing camera, I believe. So let's pull that up, work on getting that out. That one. Speaker module, that's what we're missing. Let's throw that on. Attempt to get it to lock back in place like normal. There it goes. And then the rest of our broken back plate. Before we do that, let's connect the battery. We could test it at this point, but I want to just put this on as a little bit of protective measure. Let's get those sensitive parts covered a little bit. Doesn't have to be 100%. We're missing, there it is, the mystery piece. The rest of this, I think it's just what, the flash. What do we have on there? We have the flash antenna, Wi-Fi antenna, and the antenna, I believe, are the last couple remaining things. So we can clip this one on, and we should be good to test at this. Good or bad, I don't know. Let's check it out. Power to pause boot. Google. Android. And we are so far so good at a working home screen. Obviously, if this does work and is going to be a long-term thing, probably not. The phone's undoubtedly going to fail again in the future. And realistically, how many times could you do that to a phone before it's just done? The phone's probably going to age out. It does have a cracked display, so let's not get that confused. Displays for these are super cheap, so I am going to order one and throw on it. And it just did a reboot. Same thing as before, so definitely not fixed. We're going to clean that power button while we have it apart. Yeah, it was worth a shot. Not hot enough, possibly. Maybe I need a little bit more on the temp, a little longer on the chip to reseat it. Or also, it could be a number of any other components that are causing it to reboot. I know that was one main fix. That is the RAM and the CPU that we heated. We could try heating the hard drive, but you would think if any of the pins were corrupted and not touching on the hard drive, that it would, how do you say, it wouldn't have access to the file system. It was going to work, but hey, can't succeed every time. A lot more failures than successes here, as we know. We have video proof of this fact. I don't know, I don't think it's a power button issue, because if you hold the power button, I don't think that resets it. Could try that again, but not interested in wasting time doing that on video. I may give it a try if I get it to a point where it is stable and doesn't randomly reboot. Further than it made it before, definitely. Finished setting up. Crazy that there's some layer of function anyhow. Like I said, it would, what it did last time is it would, if it did boot, normally once the phone got warmed up, it would just Google reboot to the screen where you could hit power to pause booting, and if you did pause it, it would sit there, and then
check out this info.
Shut up. Well, Google. Normally it would just get to that was not a thing. Lock and unlock it. You couldn't do that. Somewhat a success, I guess. It seems like it's going to randomly reboot. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and clean the whole board. It obviously got dunked in some water at some point or another, going by the indicators. So let's go ahead and shut this down properly. I'm going to give it a good cleaning. Possibly I'm going to reflow the other chip, or reflow those again with a little bit higher temp. You don't want to go much higher than 380 degrees Fahrenheit. That's where you can start doing damage on some of those, and keep your airflow to the minimum that your airflow station would go, is my recommendation. Not the first one of these that I've done this to. First time being inside this particular phone. I fixed a few others the same way, and the mine that I did it to is still out there, still in service, and I did that, I think 2 years ago was when I had reflowed that chip on mine, and it's still out there in service with somebody that I see on a daily basis. So reliable. You could probably go buy a new phone and be better off. Anyhow, that was the video for today. I have 2 screws in one of my tires that I have to go take care of. What fun. So I'm going to tear this down and clean it up. Give it a nice alcohol bath. Reflow the one chip on it. A little bit warmer. Clean it all up. Reassemble it. Come on, paper tray. Quit that. You dumb printer. I hate you. Give it a reflow, a decent reflow. Same thing all over again, just doing it off camera.
Hey.
Oh, you out there?
No.
Ha!
Les,
I'll be right.
I gotta get back down. I'm supposed to be cooking steak.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Man, who brings you stuff?
Go ahead, eat it up, man.
How was that steak?
I can't insult them while I'm on the air.
Oh, are you going to?
No, I'm unmuted, man. No, it was different. I'll give it that. It was. That's all I'm saying. It was different.
Was it any good?
Yeah, I mean, no, not really.
Alright, I'm gonna go see what I can do. I need to pull the car up just about 3 minutes.
Do you see where they're at?
What?
They're facing straight back. Alright, well...
Well, the tire went flat and it made it more flat down to the ground instead of where it's supposed to be at.
Did it?
Oh, well, it seems to be. But hurry up, man. I gotta go. Do you want me to go?
Hey, man, you gotta keep it family friendly. Anyhow, moderately successful. I'm gonna refloat a little harder, give it a good alcohol bath. I changed the order of the stuff, but like I said, I do have 2 screws to take care of in my tire. I'm gonna go do that now. Thankfully, it wasn't one of the new tires, and possibly finish this before I do head out for the evening. So, thanks for hanging out. I've had success with a few, actually, Nexus 5X phones, a few of those, 2 or 3, and like I said, my own personal one of these, I did this to like roughly 2 years ago, and a few LG G4s suffered. I mean, LG makes this phone. See that little LG logo there? It's an LG logo. That's who makes it. The G4 suffered from the same fate, those boot loops where you could reflow the one chip and it would work. But to reliably boot to a desktop instead of it just boot looping once the phone was warmed up, yeah, that's somewhat moderately successful. Like I said, it probably needs a little more heat. I didn't have as inaccurate of an air station when I did it before. I did it with one of those big like hairdryer style heat guns, and you don't really have a temperature gauge on them. It's just kind of low and high, and you adjust the temperature by how far you are away from the chip. So yeah. Anyhow, have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, certainly wherever you are. It's one of those. Thanks for hanging out. If this is your thing, any of this stuff, technology, whatever it may be, share it. If you like it, share it. Get it out there. Share this, like this. Help get this out there. Thank you once again, and I will see you tomorrow.